Hello and welcome to yoga. I'm glad you chose to be here. I'm going to be guiding you through a trauma-informed yoga practice. And at Living Yoga, we believe that all people should have access to mind-body practices. And so this class is an offering toward that end. It's to hopefully increase access. One of the things you'll notice is that we'll try to keep the practice really safe and simple with clear instructions. We'll use language that promotes ownership of body parts. There'll be encouragement to notice what's happening in the body and to give choices about how to participate and how to support yourself when you're doing the practice. I'll try to give you explanations about how to connect with your breath and information about why you're doing the pose you're doing so that it's meaningful. In addition to that, I guess we'll try to repeat poses. We're going to go to mountain pose multiple times so that there are places for you to pause and anchor and just get as grounded as possible. Thank you for taking your time to be on your yoga mat today. So feel free to do what feels right to you, and if you aren't sure what feels right, just use caution, move slowly, and try to be respectful of your body. So you're either standing or seated, which is great, and just notice how you are in the room. Notice your place in the room. And whether your feet are on blocks or on the floor, place them so they're roughly hip distance wide. And take a moment to feel the texture of the ground beneath you, whether it's the foam of the blocks or the texture of your mat, or maybe you're at home on carpet. And after taking in the texture, see if you can take in the temperature of the room, the air where it makes contact with your skin. And this is time you've chosen to just take space to explore and be with yourself just as you are. There's no right way to be. It's just where you are, how you feel in this moment. And whether you're seated or standing, let's start with a little bit of exploration in the feet. So if you haven't already, start to just shift your body weight a little side to side, feeling the inseam and the outseam of your foot. Notice what it feels like to transfer your body weight. And you may have a sense of where your center is, or maybe that feels a bit elusive. Right now you're just exploring. And then in opposition to that, see what it's like to transfer your weight forward into the toes and then back into your heels. Some places of your feet might feel more familiar or steady. And then from both those kinds of movements, see if you can find more of a neutral position that feels like it supports your sense of center, your sense of grounding. And we're going to add in the arms a little bit. So if your hands are on your thighs, feel free to let them dangle at the sides. Just taking note first of the bony structure of your arms. And feeling the weight of your upper arm bones, your lower arm bones, and your hands. Notice your fingers and their kind of extension down toward the earth. And then make some little wiggling movements if you haven't already started to, just to wake up your hands. Sometimes when we feel the hands and the feet, it helps us to come alive. We can use the periphery of our body to connect us with the ground of the core. And then from here, we're going to go into a little bit of standing breath work or seated breath work, depending on your position. We'll do it paired with arm movements. So you can decide to take your arms out to the sides or up toward the sky when you use your inhale breath. Yeah, just inhaling up when you're ready to and down when you're ready to. It's going to be different than the person next to you. That's okay. Moving with the cycle of your breath, playing with turning the arms and the palms up on the inhale and slowly down on the exhale. Moving with your breath, feeling the space around you, inhaling, extending and lifting, and exhaling, extending and lowering. Let's see if you can continue to find your feet even as you lift your arms up and slowly lower your arms down. Beautiful. I love hearing your breath. Let's do it 3 more times. Inhale, extend the arms, and exhale, lower the arms. 2 more times using your inhale for expansion and extension, and your exhale for release. Last time, moving with your breath. Nice. And once the arms come down, just to register how the bones feel now. And maybe you notice your shoulders, or it makes you want to make extra movement. Now from here, we're going to play with a little bit of side bending to help stretch the side body and increase your capacity for breath. So let the arm that's over here toward this side of the room dangle toward the floor, and take your other arm and reach it up and out to the side, and then just arc up and over. Yeah, continue to press down through the side that you're reaching away from, lengthening through your side body. And when your next exhale comes, slowly back to center. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So the opposite arm moves slightly out, maybe up, and then over to the side, lengthening through the rib cage, pressing through the feet. Whenever you're ready, right, you can come back to center. Move at the pace that feels right to you. Lift your arm to the height that feels right to you. And we're going to do it 1 more full cycle, reaching the arm, extending through the side body, playing with movement and breath while you keep your ground. And then pause at neutral and just notice now. It seems like it might be good to do some arm circles. So roll your shoulders a little bit one way and then roll them the other way. Yeah. So here's that mountain pose that I mentioned that we're going to come back to multiple times. If you're seated, you just notice your feet on the ground. When you're standing, same thing, feet on the ground. And conjure up a very solid base. A wide, broad space. And then from there, lift through the torso, lift through the neck, lift through the top of the head, and see if you can also embody the sense of the peak of a mountain so that you feel as tall as you possibly can. Solid base, steady ground, mountain pose, a place to come back to whenever you're looking for grounding and connection. And from here, we're going to work with a little bit of neck stretching. So take a hand and reach it out toward the side. Yep, down toward the floor and out toward the side. And then you're going to arch your ear up and over to the opposite side, opening up through the neck. Continue to root through the feet and press through the fingers. And just notice the stretch. Keep your lips soft, keep your feet grounded. Part of staying grounded is being tender or gentle with yourself. So take a soft palm, place it on the cheek with the ear that's toward the shoulder, and with gentleness, bring yourself back towards center. Let your arms dangle. And take in your feet on the ground, the weight of your arm bones, and your place in the room. And then let's do the same thing on the other side. So reach the fingers out. And the head's going to move in opposition to the extended arm. Soft through the palms, but rooted through the feet. Let your inhale and your exhale come naturally. And then in the spirit of grounded gentleness, Karen, you know right where we're going. Take your palm, place it on your cheek, yeah, and just lovingly back towards center. And then release the hands down. Shake out the wrists a little bit, shake out the arms, shake out the hands, and find that steady mountain pose again. What is it that brings you into your feet and a place of grounding? Can you evenly extend from the right to the left and the front to the back, finding a solid base, a lengthened spine, and an extended head? Okay, from this solid place, we're going to come into chair pose. And for this chair pose, I'm going to suggest that you take your hands and place them on the rim of your pelvis, just so you can feel that bony structure of your body, the midsection of your body. This is a place you can hold on to for grounding, on or off the mat. If you're seated in the chair, you're going to do your chair pose from here. If you're standing, you're going to exhale and just release your pelvis down, taking a deep bend into the knees, and tip your torso slightly forward. The same thing's true in the chair. Maybe you tip your torso slightly folded. If you want to add on the extension of the arms, you can, as long as you keep that place of center or ground. So if you want to, you might reach your arms forward here, or they can just stay on the rim of the pelvis. Yeah, you can even do just one side. Don't have to do both sides. With your next inhale, bring yourself back up to center and just pause for a moment. So you're, back up to center. That means to standing. Yeah. Coming up to standing, let your arms dangle. And maybe take your hands and place them on your chest, because you probably can feel that your heart rate has gone up. So you have evidence of your own aliveness coming from your body. And we're going to repeat it again. The body loves repetition. We're purposely building some of these bigger muscles, kind of building some heat in the body, because building that heat is also part of a sense of grounding. Let your arms dangle. Notice what it's like to have the arm bones here. And then make a choice with your arms. Maybe they're going to come to the rim of the pelvis again, if that felt like a nice focal point. Or maybe they're going to extend forward. And from this place, dip into your chair pose by bending your knees and releasing down. Nice. I love to see you using variations. So we have to get creative because we're all different. Our bodies move differently. We're going to stay here counting down for 5. So for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then rise up. This time, if you want to, take your fingers and just feel your pulse. Yeah, check to see your heart beating. It can be on the neck. It can be on the chest. Perhaps it's on the wrist. So from here, we're going to move into a high lunge pose. So if you're at your mat, you're going to want to set your blocks up. If you're on a chair, you're going to want to take your blocks off the mat and turn the seat of the chair to face your body. So we're using the props to help bring the floor closer And that way, when we come to a lunge pose, we have something to help support the upper body. So we're going to play today with stepping back a little bit. So come forward toward the top of your mat or fairly close to your chair. Take your hands and bring them again to the rim of the pelvis so you can find your center. And let's just play with imagining stepping 1 foot back. What would it be like to imagine stepping 1 foot back toward the back of the mat? And then now try that on the other side, as though you were going to step the other foot back. Where might it land at the back of the mat? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to come to a lunge pose with 1 foot forward, the knee bent, and 1 leg back. So from where you are standing, you can either take your hands and place them on the edge of the chair or keep them on your waistline and just step 1 foot back toward the back of the mat somewhere. Yeah. Nice. And see if you can lift your back heel, come up onto your toes, and use whatever you can to keep yourself steady. Notice your feet. Notice the lift of the torso. And let yourself breathe. And tip some body weight forward if it isn't already, and step the back foot up to the top of the mat. Come to standing, release your arms, and just notice. And just like chair pose, you'll notice that this raises your heart rate. We'll all find center together, and then we'll use whatever props we want to. So hands come to the waist. Find the rim of the pelvis, give a little squeeze so you can feel your bony structure. Either leave your hands here for support or place them down on the chair for some support. You're going to step your opposite foot back. Whichever foot you didn't use before, and if you can't remember, just step 1 back and find your lunge pose. Yeah. Your pelvis is going to face forward toward the front of the room. Your back leg is lifted. Make sure you place your front foot so that your foot is underneath the knee. So you want to make sure that your knee doesn't go beyond your toes. So if it does, you might need to just come upright and keep your hands on your torso or walk your blocks back. Yeah, great negotiation. Okay, steady through the center of the body. You're going to step forward toward the top of your mat. Step forward. Release your arms down to the sides and just notice. Okay, we're going to do that one more time. If you want to use the blocks this time, I'm going to have you bend forward toward the blocks. Same thing's true with the chair. You can bend forward and hold on to the edge of the chair. And from that supported position, now try stepping 1 leg back to a lunge pose. Yeah, feel free to walk your blocks back toward your knee and shoulder so you don't feel overextended. Lift your back thigh up toward the ceiling. Shift some body weight, and then slowly come back up. Yeah. So stand through your feet, find your mountain pose again, find your steady ground. And then you can make a choice. So there's been use of the chair, use of the blocks, and also from the standing lunge, hands on the rim of the pelvis. So whichever one felt best to you, I'm going to ask you to find that now. We're going to do it one more time on the other side. So either bend forward, touch the chair and the blocks, or just stay upright and hold on to the pelvis. And then from here, step back, whichever side you haven't done. Make sure the blocks come back to support you. So the blocks should be in line with the front ankle. And then slowly transfer some body weight, give some tone to the belly, and come forward. Okay, stand in your mountain pose. You can choose eyes open or closed. Find your inhale and find your exhale. We're going to do a few more poses that cool it down a little bit more. So that chair pose and the lunge were a little heating, and this should be a little more cooling. We'll see how it goes. So we're going to do a wide leg forward bend. So you're going to turn and face this direction. If you have the chair, you can pick it up and bring it to this side of the mat. Take your feet and step them about hip distance wide. And then go wider from there. Find a wide stride. Let your hands find the rim of the pelvis again and give a little squeeze so you can find your center. Keep a slight bend to your knees, and as you exhale, just a slow lower down and forward. Reaching your hands either to the seat of the chair, to the blocks, or keeping your hands on your body for support. And it's a good idea to keep your eyes open in this pose just to prevent any dizziness. You can let your head be in line with your spine. And just remember to add a little more bend to the knees if it feels like a big ask to the back of the legs. Press down through the feet. Notice the mat beneath you, and let your spine be long. And we're going to play with releasing the neck a little bit, so you can shake your head yes, and shake it no. And then let's do a little bit of sounding. See if you can make the sound of ah. Good, keep doing that. Let's do it 3 more times. Ah. 2 more times. One more time. Nice. So the sounding's helpful. It really helps us to release through the body and surrender. So take the hands back to either your thighs or the midsection of your body. Give a deep bend to your knees and bring yourself back to an upright position. And you can slowly heel-toe your feet toward each other. And then just shake out wherever it naturally feels good to shake out. Okay, we're going to move to a balance pose. This pose can be done at a wall or with the back of the chair or just freestanding on your mat. So we're going to do a balance pose, that's tree pose. You can use the inspiration from the wall behind you. Yeah. So place your feet down on the ground, and the leg that's closest to the wall, we're going to use that as the standing leg first. And all we're going to do to start with is just transfer body weight. So as you reach down into the leg and foot that's closest to the wall, just imagine lifting up the opposite foot off the floor. You don't actually have to do it. Just feel what it might be like to lift it. And then just for contrast, imagine the opposite way where you were to transfer your body weight toward the foot that's toward the front of the room and offload the foot that's toward the back of the room. All right. Whenever you're focused on balance, which can also help with grounding, it's useful to find a steady place to rest your gaze. something that's unmoving. So find a steady point either down toward the ground or straight ahead. And begin to conjure that mountain position through your feet and start to transfer all your weight into the leg that's closest to the wall. You're just going to come up onto the toes of the opposite foot, using the wall for balance, using your core for balance, or using the chair. You have a choice. You can keep your heel moving back, or you could even prop that heel toward your lower ankle bone or low calf. But you don't even have to come up off of those toes. You can use them for balance. Continue to reach down as much as you reach up. And then slowly release that side. Release that side and shake out again. Sometimes we can get a little rigid when we're doing balance. And you're going to turn around and do the opposite side. And you can decide to use the wall for support or the chair. So turn around so that you're going to stand so that you're facing the other side of the room. Great. Take a moment and just like you did at the beginning of class, transfer your body weight a little bit from one leg over to the other leg. Find an even standing position. And then as you root down into the foot and the leg that's closest to the wall, use the support, whatever you decide to use, and either come up onto the toes or reach the toes down and prop the foot at the ankle, or maybe place it on the calf. So it's actually skillful for us to use support to steady ourselves when we're trying to find ground. So if you use the wall or the chair or your own body, that is a source of grounding. Notice your breath. And then slowly release that foot down. Yeah, shake out just a little bit right and left. And let's turn back towards center, this side of the room, and just find mountain pose again. Stand where you are and simply just notice that you're there. Maybe it feels better to take your feet further apart, maybe a little closer together. Can you remember what your feet felt like at the beginning of class, and then note what they feel like now? And we're going to move from standing to coming down to the ground. So take your props and set them aside and come to the ground with your knees bent. Okay, now that you've found your way to the ground, you're going to lie all the way down with your knees bent. And just let yourself feel your feet on the floor. It might feel good to rest your knees toward one another. Yeah, you can always just stay here, focusing on your breath, your inhale or your exhale. Or if you want to, you might try drawing your knees toward your chest. And if you need to do one at a time, it's okay to just do one. It might feel good to rock a little bit side to side. And see if you can use your inhale to inspire relaxation and your exhale to just support release. And then if you're holding your thighs, you can release them back down toward the ground. And we're going to do a little bit of windshield wiper action. So take your feet about as wide as the mat. Your arms can either be at your sides or slightly out toward your shoulders. Just find a comfortable place. And then moving at a pace that's good for you, let your knees just move a little bit one direction and then the other direction. To protect your knees, you can draw your toes toward your shins. You get to decide how much to move one direction and how much to move the other direction. Just helping to soften the low back and create a little bit of range of motion in the hips. And it might feel good to pause and just rest on one side. If you do that, you might want to take your head the other direction and just feel what it's like to get a neck stretch. Should never feel like it's a strain or that you can't breathe while you're moving. And before you bring your knees back up, take your head to center, bring your knees up, and then see what it's like to go to the other side. If it doesn't feel good, you're welcome to bring your knees back up and just find that resting position, feet on the floor, knees toward the sky. And bring your head back to neutral. Bring your knees up. And then the next offering is going to be a twist. If you want to try placing a block between your upper inner thighs, it might give you a little bit of support. You can always place it there and then take it out. If you don't have access to a block, a rolled towel or a jacket might work. And you can decide to either leave your feet here and do kind of a windshield wiper twist, or perhaps you're going to lift your knees up toward the chest a little bit with the shins toward the ceiling, and then take the legs over to one side. So twisting one direction. The floor feels far away. Using support underneath the knees is an option. Lengthen through the back of your waistline and let your breath deepen just like you did in your side body stretch. And before you make any movement here, let yourself register the floor beneath you, the ground, your place here on your mat. And then take your head back to neutral in line with your spine. Bring your knees back towards center. And then move yourself the opposite way. If you want to shift your hips first and then move your knees, it's always an option. And some people like to turn their neck in opposition, but for others it feels like too much for the neck to turn. So feel free to keep it going in the same direction as your knees, in line with your spine, or turned in opposition. And then bring your head back to neutral. Pause for a moment to notice the weight of the legs. And see if you can draw the knees gently to the belly a little bit, and then inhale yourself towards center. Rest your feet on the floor or draw your knees to your chest to release your low back, either one. We're going to spend some time resting on the ground, so I want to make sure your back feels comfortable. For this next resting portion, you can either outstretch your legs, you can bend your knees and keep them slightly apart, or bend them and keep them touching, or maybe you want to use the chair to rest your legs on the seat. So we started class with just the feet on the floor, and now you're on the floor with your body, in particular your torso. Some of you have feet on the floor too. Just let yourself surrender the weight of your body and release it into the support of the ground. Sometimes it's useful to squeeze your fists or squeeze your muscles a little bit and then release them to feel the contrast between working your body and releasing your body. And some people feel fine with silence, but others like guidance during their relaxation and maybe even support to find different parts of the body that perhaps they're not aware of. So for this next portion, there's nothing you have to do. It's just relaxing and releasing to the best of your capacity. If you wander off, no problem. Your eyes can stay opened or closed. Just noticing the weight of your body and the ground beneath you. I'm just going to mention parts of your body to help you bring attention to that area. Notice your feet and your lower legs. Notice your knees and your upper legs. Notice the bony structure of your pelvis and your belly. Notice your rib cage and your chest. Notice your upper arms, your elbows, and your lower arms. Notice your hands. Notice your palms. Notice your shoulders. And start to notice the back of your head, the sides of your head, the top of your head. Notice your forehead. Notice your ears. Notice your cheeks. Notice your jaw. Notice your mouth. Notice your tongue inside your mouth. And then bring your attention to your eyes. See if you can notice your eyes and let your eyes be really heavy, seated in their sockets. And just for 1 minute, you won't hear my voice. So I'm going to let you rest in a minute of silence. You can always get up or move if you want to. But after a minute, I'm going to call you back up. And then you can start to make some gentle movements, starting first with your toes maybe and your fingers. Maybe circle your wrists and your ankles. It'll probably feel best to bend your knees if you're flat on the floor and adjust to them being there, or drawing your knees to your chest if you've been resting with a chair. And then you just take your time. And whenever you're ready, you'll roll to your side. You can decide how long to rest there. And whenever you're ready to get up and move on with the rest of your day. And sometimes after practice, it feels good to come back to a seated posture. For some people, that's comfortable. And for others, it's good to just come back up to standing. Since we started standing, let's come back up to standing together to just feel what it's like to inhabit your body now. So either seated or standing, however you started class. And giving yourself a moment to just notice how it is to be you now. And for some people, it feels good to seal the practice by maybe taking the hands, placing one hand over the center of the chest and the other hand there, and just honoring yourself for your willingness to come to your mat and explore your body. And thanks for being here today. So hopefully you can see from that yoga sequence and the people who are in the video that everybody's body is really unique. And the best way to do the practice is to support yourself in the way that helps you to do the pose. You can use this sequence however you want to, repeating it just as it is, or picking one or two poses to do, or just focusing on your breath throughout the day. Today, we focused on the intention of grounding and repeated poses multiple times. It's possible that if you change the focus or the intention of the class, you'd have a really different experience. So perhaps you're looking for inspiration or support or growth. You could decide to use those intentions when you practice. There are some supports you can offer yourself if you're feeling really anxious. It's useful to just lengthen your exhale breath. In addition to that, support on the forehead can often calm the mind and body. And with the arms up in this position, your biggest breathing muscle has more room to move. And sometimes if I'm feeling really frustrated, I'll use the walls of the room for support, something to just press against or reach into, whether I'm using it for support for myself or just an extension of my body. It's important to always keep your own safety in mind and to move at your own pace and to never do something that makes you feel uncomfortable. So following your own body's lead, and when you don't really know what your body's telling you, to just err on the side of moving slowly. You can use some of the props to support you, and using a sticky mat can make a surface that is useful for you to stand on and do your practice. If you don't have access to a mat, you can call the Living Yoga office, and we're happy to try to get a mat your way. Thank you for taking the time to be on your mat today, and please feel free to visit our website.